Tonight at 6 o'clock, we've been waiting for it. It's the long-awaited return of the Hall of Fame coach, Steve Logan, who will be on 94.3 The Game and 94.1 WNBU tonight, 6 o'clock to 8 o'clock. He will also be heard all season long during the week on 94.3 The Game with Adam and Joe in the afternoon and the guys on the World's Strongest Morning Show, Mike and Mark. And, of course, he's got his own show on Saturday, which you'll hear also on 94.3 The Game from 10 to noon. Here he is, Steve Logan. Good morning, Coach. How about that build-up?
I know. It started sounding like work. I may have to resign.
Everybody's been asking me, especially since we put the sports station on down here, when is Coach Logan starting? And this is your week, right? So tonight at 6, your first show at 6 o'clock.
First show's at 6. There's a lot of pressure, and here's the pressure. Normally, I start drinking wine at 6, so I've got to make it from 6 to 8 with no alcohol. By the time I drive home, I'll be shaking.
You can bring alcohol to the studio. It's okay with me. I don't care.
Well, I may. You never know what's in my coffee cup. That's the honest truth.
You could be like Dean Smith at his press conferences when I used to have to sneak up behind the table to interview Coach Smith. You know, he'd have that Dixie cup up there, and it wasn't water in it.
You got to hide it from all the Southern Baptists.
I got some things I got to ask you. I've been complaining about this all morning. Let's start with the pro stuff. I am very frustrated this morning. Very frustrated because I'm watching the Panthers on Friday night, and I see Cam Newton going back in to start the second quarter, and my exact words were, why? Why would you play your franchise quarterback in a stupid game like this? It doesn't mean anything. You're paying him millions of dollars. He may go out there and get hurt, and sure enough, he's got a broken rib now.
Right.
Why do they do this stuff? Is it that important to play these guys in these stupid preseason games?
Well, here, in those staff meetings that you go into, and it's at the collegiate level too. I mean, we used to have staff meetings at the collegiate level, and we're going to go out and we got to practice. And do you want to put Matt Ryan in the scrimmage? Do you want to put David Garrard or Jeff Blake? Pick a name that I had the opportunity to work with. Well, there's a rhythm and timing that you don't feel is right yet, and things aren't clicking yet, and you are 10 days away from kickoff, and so you say, well, we don't want to get him hurt. Well, we don't want to go out 10 days from now and not be able to complete a pass.
Yeah.
And that's the dilemma, and that's what goes on. And Henry, you're talking about something that I hammer home all the time in the media, on radio, television, or interviews, whatever it is I'm talking about. People get frustrated about those kinds of things, and I come back to this point. What the fan doesn't know and what the fan doesn't appreciate, the fans are not at practice.
Yeah.
And the things that are happening at practice manifest themselves into decisions that are made by a relatively intelligent group of people that are coaching.
Yeah.
And so those decisions, and believe me, they agonize over those decisions. They really do. And I just know that every scrimmage that I went into, I'd go out there and I would shoot. I'd have a voodoo priest, a Satanist, a Catholic priest. We got every religion together on the planet and said, we sacrificed cats. We prayed to God that everybody would please God, just make it through the scrimmage. Healthy.
Oh,
we tried
goodness.
everything. There was no religion off base. So anyway, and that's what coaches do. But I mean, stuff happens, man.
All right,
stuff happens.
Now, Coach Carr, our own resident coach, just handed me a question for you along the same line. St. Louis Rams, Sam Bradford signed for $78 million, $17 million signing bonus. He was injured last year, and now he breaks. He has a torn ACL. They announced yesterday. That's crazy also, but Coach wants to know, how does his pay work? Is he going to get paid all that money this year?
Well, he obviously he's got the signing bonus. Yeah. And then when you get injured, it goes into an arbitration type deal. And for all practical purposes, Sam Bradford, who I've never met Sam, he's an Oklahoma University product. But I know when he came out, I just finished working with Matt Ryan, and I did some film study on Sam. And he was, I love that kid on film. But he's been injured, and that's going to be arbitrated. He'll get a good chunk of that money, probably not all of it.
Yeah.
But his career is probably over. But again, Sam has been out for 10 months. He had to get his rhythm and timing. They had to play him.
Yeah.
And then, of course, that thing happens, and, his career is probably over.
Well, we were talking about it this morning, and, of course, you're going to have David Garrard on tonight. David's going to be on with you on Monday nights this season as long as he doesn't sign. But McGee says that the guys on Fox Sports Radio over the weekend were throwing Garrard's name out as a guy that St. Louis might want to go after. And I was saying that, David might be the best available quarterback that's not on a roster right now. Would you agree with that?
He probably is, and that's kind of where he's sitting. He's in the bullpen now, that part of his career. And when people get hurt, he's right there on the edge that, he could get a call. What they will probably do, though, what they would prefer to do as a franchise, I'm guessing, they want to go. There's going to be cuts made, and there's going to be some decent quarterback talent that'll get cut around the league. Or they may trade for a quality backup. A quality backup in the NFL is a real valuable asset right now. So a club that's got a real valuable backup quarterback, they could trade and get some trade value for him in this little window right now.
Right.
And so the St. Louis Rams, they've got some big decisions to make. They've got a decent football team, and this is a catastrophic event for their franchise.
One more question about the Panthers. Did you watch the preseason game on Friday night?
I didn't get a chance to see it. I did not.
They looked terrible.
Well, again, that's why Cam Newton's in there. They're looking terrible, and look, I know how that feels. Let me tell you something. First of all, like in college, you go out and scrimmage. You scrimmage yourself, and that's like watching your mother-in-law drive off a cliff in your brand new Cadillac, because you just. Like if you score, you think, oh, my God, our defense is awful. And if you don't score, you think, my God, our offense is awful. So you don't know what you got. And you get mixed emotions every time you do that. So then you go into the pros, and you're playing these games against other franchises, and you go out there and don't score. You think, my God, we're not going to win a game. We're going to get fired. Yeah. And then if you win a game, the media thinks let me throw this out. Remember when the Detroit Lions went 16-0? I mean 0-16.
Yeah.
About 5 years ago,
right,
they lost every game.
Yeah.
You know what their preseason record was?
4-0.
4-0.
So it really doesn't mean anything.
So you keep telling yourself it doesn't, but here's what I do know: the positives mean a little bit. The negatives mean a whole bunch. Yeah. I'm just telling you. You go out there and screw around and don't look really good at all, it's hard to flip that switch. And you do go out there and look really good, that doesn't really mean you're going to be great.
Yeah. Well, the Panthers open the season in 2 weeks against your old team, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So that's good. That ain't the easy putt it used to be.
No, Tampa's going to be better. Lovey has gone down there and in fact, I looked at their starting 22 yesterday, and there are exactly 2 players on the roster from 2.5 years ago when I was coaching there.
Yeah.
There are exactly 2 players on the starting 22 left.
Wow.
Yeah, so he's restructured the whole thing, and Lovey will calm that franchise down because upon signing his contract, in the contract it said, hey, Blazers, owners, you get no say in what goes on in the football. And now that they're out of the equation, that franchise will calm down and be better.
Well, I know you didn't have that situation down there, but
oh my God! Don't get me started.
Hey, by the way, didn't you and Lovie Smith coach together somewhere? Were you at Oklahoma State or somewhere?
Well, I coached with Lovie at the University of Tulsa. Then I actually hired Lovie at East Carolina, and he came in the spring for about a month, and then he got an opportunity to go to Kentucky almost immediately after I hired him. And you got to take that job, and off he went. Yeah.
So Lovie Smith worked on the ECU staff for 1 month.
For 1 month, and he was jobless, and he was a homeless guy, and he called me and he said, I need a job, man. I'll stay. I swear. I said, Lovey, I need you to stay at least 2 years. Okay. He came, stayed a month, so there you go.
That's
every
fun.
Man for himself, buddy.
Yeah. Steve Logan on the phone. His initial Steve Logan show airs tonight, 6 to 8, and I hope people will call. I think your phone, Michael, have they got the phones? The phones are still not right, are they? I think your phone number tonight is going to be different than the regular phone number. We've had some phone company issues. I
want to throw it. to throw a challenge out to the people in Eastern North Carolina.
All
okay,
right.
here we go.
Yeah.
When I do my Raleigh radio show on Saturday morning, it's the most fun show ever because you just flip the switch, and I mean millions of people call, and it's a lot of fun when people call. The Eastern North Carolina people are still trying to figure out how to call. No one calls.
They're scared of you.
Okay. Well, well, they have reason to be because there's been a few people that have called in Raleigh, and I had to run them after the show. I had to take them out in the parking lot. The question was so stupid, I took them out in the parking lot and ran them after practice.
I think the number tonight is going to be an 8. You know what, Michael, is it 866? 866-963-1037. We'll get it ready for you so you can give it enough time. Is it 877?
No, I think you might be right.
Okay, we'll get it right. But we've got a new phone number, which is 561-GAME.
4263.
561 game.
But you can't use that tonight.
Well, no wonder they don't call.
Well, they're going to get it. They're supposed to get it straight tomorrow.
We hand out trick phone numbers.
Yeah, exactly. That's part of the problem. But the phone company couldn't get it ready by tomorrow, is what we were told. They're going to get it ready by tomorrow, but they couldn't do it Monday as much as we begged them. All right, now let me ask you this, because East Carolina is getting a lot of love. The Pirates are, Tim Brando tweeted out over the weekend that there were going to be some flies in the ointment in college football, and the top fly this year was going to be East Carolina. Arnie Spanier on Fox Sports Radio last week picks East Carolina to beat South Carolina. There's been a lot of that talk about East Carolina this year, and of course it's because Shane Carden is returning, of course, and they won 10 games last year. But we can't forget they also had a really bad defeat at the end of the year by Marshall. I know you said all year last year that the challenge for East Carolina's offense was to when they faced a really tight man-to-man deal. Is East Carolina getting too much love, you think, or are people getting crazy about what might happen this season?
I think probably so, because the people that you mentioned, Tim Brando and Arnie Spanier, probably haven't drilled down deep enough to look at the circumstances of last year's 10-win season. It was good. It was impressive. It was fun. I'm not taking anything away from it. But a lot of things, you caught North Carolina at exactly the right time. You caught North Carolina State without a quarterback, and that doesn't diminish. It does not diminish the victories. You still had to go win the game, and they did. But, going to South Carolina, and I mean, people are talking about South Carolina winning the national championship, crying out loud.
Right.
Now, that's a winnable game, but here's the equation that has to pop up for East Carolina to win it. It's got to be like a 4-to-1 turnover ratio in favor of East Carolina to pull off an upset like that. And that can happen. It can happen. But it'll have to be the only way that's going to happen. It's going to have to be a turnover ratio flip in favor of East Carolina. But I mean, we've all seen East Carolina, before I got there, while I was there, and after I've been there. East Carolina is a team you just don't want to play, period.
Yep. And, of course, they open Saturday night with North Carolina Central.
Now you look at the turnover ratio again. The only way that goes is if it flipped. I mean, the only way, that's a game that you just don't screw it up. Don't turn the ball over.
Right.
And you better start off 1-0 because, you got a 3-game stretch coming up now. It's going to be a headache.
Yeah, I agree with that.
All right, now, McGee, do you have any questions for the coach? We've only got a couple minutes left here.
Speaking of that, Coach, the Pirates opened up with Central. Duke opens up with Elon, North Carolina, Liberty, NC State, Georgia Southern. Are you a fan of these kinds of opening games for these teams?
Well, I'll tell you what, now that this Power 5 conference thing has unfolded, I've said this publicly, now that the rich have gotten totally richer and totally – they're just so greedy about things. Here's what I would mandate for those knuckleheads. They shouldn't be allowed to play anybody outside of the Power 5 conference. That way they'd all get what they really deserve, which is every single week they've got a major problem on their hands. Because if I'm a season ticket holder, and I buy season tickets and I look up and we're opening up with Elon, are you kidding me? And you've just legislated Elon and East Carolina and everybody else out of the equation for all practical purposes. And they're getting their cake and they're eating it too. And to me, it's not right. It's just not right.
Well, I'm sure we'll hear more about that tonight, and you'll probably get some calls on that. Steve Logan show, first initial show tonight at 6. Coach will be on from 6 to 8 tonight on 94.3 here in Greenville, The Game, and in New Bern, Moorhead, and Jacksonville on 94.1 WNBU. 6 to 8, the Steve Logan show tonight. Coach will have you'll have the professor of Pirate football on with an East Carolina practice report.
We will, and we're going to have the North Carolina State insider, the Duke insider, the UNC insider, so everybody will get a little bit of something. They'll find out how the latest scrimmage went and all the anxieties that are in place for each program.
All right, well, we're looking forward to it. Tonight, the initial Steve Logan show of the year. Coach, looking forward to it. We'll be listening tonight.